Hey guys, this is Professor Pewpew, and for the first time in a long time, I'm actually uploading one of my own videos. So the last couple of videos the last few videos actually that's been uploaded to this channel have all been made by my editors, and those guys are a lot better than I am at editing. But today's video is a little bit more informational, so I had to do this on my own. So today I'm gonna teach you how to play the one-hand dagger build, which is a really powerful build actually. It's got some major weaknesses as well. We're gonna talk about all that in a bit, but this is a build that I've been having a lot of fun with, and it's a build that's made me a lot of silver. I first started playing this build in the mist when the mist just dropped actually. This is the first thing that I played in the mist. It's a one-hand dagger with Helmet of Valor, Hunter Jacket, and any kind of sandals for the blue sprint. Now, previously I had kind of given up on this build because it was just really hard to play it into a very kite-heavy meta with all the war bows, baton bows, and even demonic staffs. Now, since some of those weapons have been nerfed, less people are playing them now. They're pretty much no demonic staffs now, and very few bow players, or at least fewer bow players. It's easier now to play this build. Not that it's easy, not that it's I mean, like in the current meta, pretty much anything can kite you, even the melee weapons. So it's not like easy to play this build, but it's a lot easier than before. So a couple of weeks ago, Jerry told me to give this build another shot, and I did. And then ever since then, I've been just playing this build a lot, like every day. So this build has a lot of damage, a lot of sustain, and it's decent on mobility. And if they're not careful, you can easily take someone down who is a lot higher IP than you. Which is why the clips in this video are all just me killing A3s when I'm wearing flat 8. Now, I know this is supposed to be a guide, but I'm trying to keep this video short, so if you're completely new to the game and you don't even know what the one-hand dagger does, just go in the game right now and look at the skills on the dagger, look at the skills on the dagger and the armor pieces, and just read what they do first. And that way I can skip the skill explanation, and we're just gonna dive straight into how to actually play this build. Okay? So to really oversimplify it, you want to auto-attack them whenever you can. Turn on your jacket and E and just auto-attack them, right? You want to do that whenever you can, and you want to kite for cooldowns whenever you cannot. So first thing you want to do is, when you inspect someone, just look at their kit and think about what can they use to stop you from auto-attacking them, and what can you do to counter, right? So we looked at this double-bladed staff already, and he was running Fincal Merc Jacket, so as far as armor skill goes, there's really nothing that can stop me from just auto-attacking them. They can purge my jacket with Fincal, but that's not really gonna win them the trade. As long as I can keep auto-attacking with E, I'll still win. So the only things that can really stop me from auto-attacking him here is his E and his W, right? So if he stuns me, I can auto-attack, and if he jumps away from me, I can auto-attack, right? So how do we deal with that? Well, at this point, we have less health, and we also just ratted the guy, so he's gonna want to kill me because I just ratted him, and also I look like I'm weaker because I have less health, so he may think that he can chase me, right? So as long as I can get him to use one of his two mobility skills offensively, I can counter his other mobility skill just by landing my Shadow Edge afterwards. Right, so that's what I'm doing here is, I fake run away. Even though I have my skills up, I run away until he burns his abilities to chase, right? And then I turn around, and now he realizes it's losing the trade, so he tries to run, and I can follow with Shadow Edge to get the finishing blow on him. So with this build, as long as you can turn on your two buffs, your R and your E, and actually like auto attack and not get kited, then it's pretty impossible for anybody to outdamage you, right? So the weakness of this build is really in just getting kited, right? Because remember, if you turn on your E and you don't auto attack, you actually lose health. So if you're fighting anything that can kite, and you know, in this meta pretty much anything can kite you, but anyways, like if you're fighting anything that can kite and you turn on your E and they start kiting, then you have to turn your E off to not die to your own damage. So really the greatest vulnerability of this build is against kiting, and in this meta pretty much anything can kite you, right? So even melee weapons like spears and swords and battle axes, they can kite you. If it's a spear, they can just keep walking away and hitting their Qs and Ws, and if you burn Shadow Edge to get on top of them before they burn their E, then they'll just knock you up with E and keep kiting, right? So it's really you got to be really careful how you use that Shadow Edge. If you use it too early, like if you use it before they burn their mobility skills, then you're not gonna be able to follow up with their Shadow Edge after they use a mobility skill to kite you. So generally, you kind of just want to walk at them to start the fight, but sometimes in the ideal situation, they will actually burn a mobility to engage onto you, right? So for example, in this case, we're fighting an A3 Deathgiver who tried to third party us earlier, and because it's A3, he's playing really cocky. He's kind of just like running full speed at us. And he doesn't realize that if he actually catch up to us, we have more damage than they do. Okay, and I'm fighting an A3 here, even though I'm flat 8, and you can see that I just burned through his Merc Jacket, and it didn't really help him win the trade at all, right? And now he doesn't have Merc Jacket, but for some reason he is still just running at us. If he had realized that he lost, he'd turn around and run, and we will have to chase them, and that would be a little harder. But because he has no idea what's going on, he just thinks he can gear crush us, I guess. But he's still running at us, and then on the second rotation we get to kill them. And because we saved the purge earlier, we didn't purge his jacket, right? So now we can use the purge for his undead cape. Alright, so now we have another A3 that's just gonna run straight at us, and this one's using dual swords. Not really sure why, because dual swords are already nerfed at this point, but he's playing A3 dual swords, and he just uses E. Now he's using boots. Remember I said this is all about knowing your enemy's cooldowns, so that's 2 out of the way already, and he just used a Hunter Hood and Merc Jacket together there to trade with our E. So that's another 2 out of the way, and we're just gonna walk away now until our cooldowns are back up so we can go in again. And because he used boots earlier, we know he's not gonna be able to catch up to us, so we can just walk until the jacket comes off cooldown. Okay, now it's off cooldown, so we're gonna slow down, let them catch up. Now they caught up, we turn right away. Because we save Shadow Edge, we don't have to engage on them, right? So because they're engaging on us, so we save the Shadow Edge, and that lets us, follow, stick on top of him when he's Wing to kite. And right there, when he E'd us, we wanted to back off because our E was already over. And against the A3, you really don't want to like trade with him when you don't have E up, right? So we're just gonna back up until everything's up again. Now we know his Hunter Hood is up, right? So we just watch for that, and we just purge the Hunter Hood, and now he's just gonna die. So by now you probably realize that in this build, like Shadow Edge is really important. How you use it is really important. Most of the times you probably don't want to engage with it. Most of the time you want to save it for either a follow-up or an escape, right? So you want to like either use it to follow up when they use a kiting skill, or you want to use it to Shadow Edge to a mob and wait for your second rotation if they use something that you don't have an answer for, right? So for example, if they have Mistwalker Jacket, you turn on your R, you turn on your E, you start auto attacking them, and they go into mist form, then you have to Shadow Edge to a mob to escape. And This is really important, especially because a lot of Mistwalker jackets also run Fin Cows. So if you Shadow Edge for the engage, and then you E an auto attack, they're gonna go into Mist form, and now you don't have Shadow Edge to escape. And if you try to boots away, they'll just Fin Cow your boots, and then you're just gonna die. Okay, so to sum it all up, first thing is inspect and see what they have to prevent you from auto attacking them, and then play around those cooldowns. If they have mobility, see if they will burn those mobilities to engage on you, and just turn around to auto attack them when they have like a cooldown disadvantage. Right, that's really how you play this build. If you want to like boil it down, it's just when they have a cooldown disadvantage, you go in with your buffs, and when you have the cooldown disadvantage, you kite for cooldowns to come back. Okay, so there are two very important last things to talk about. First is the damage calculation on your E. The game decides how much damage your E does at the moment that you press the E button. Okay, so if you have your Q stacks up already and you press E, you'll get extra damage. But if you press E first and then you stacking, you don't get extra damage. Same thing with your jacket. If you press R first and then E, you get extra damage. If you press E first and then R, you'll get extra attack speed, but you won't get extra damage. And the last thing to talk about is your Shadow Edge. So by now you probably know that your Shadow Edge is an iframe, but there is a little bit of a trick to using this iframe. A little while ago I made a YouTube short to explain exactly how this mechanic works, so I'm just gonna go ahead and copy and paste that video at the end of this one so you don't miss out. So go ahead and gank that like button and that sub button for me, and watch this short. If you've been playing Daggers for years, you probably already know this, but a lot of people are still asking questions about it, so I'm doing a quick explanation on. Shadow Edge's iframe is a fixed duration iframe, so if you land it at max range, it will last the same amount of time as if you land it at point blank. If you land it at point blank, it would seem like you have already arrived at your target, but you're still invulnerable. So how's this useful? If you are the Dagger player, you can use this to counter Hunter Hoods. A lot of times people will turn on their Hunter Hoods when you get to 3 stacks on something like Death Givers or Dagger pairs. If they do this, you can Shadow Edge them first and then hit your E, and your E will not be deflected by Hunter Hood. This is also important to know if you're playing against Daggers, because you don't want to be hitting their iframe with your big skills like your Force Fields or your Demonic E's. That could be really useful in a kiting situation and could save your life. But if you use it too early, you're gonna hit the iframe on the Shadow Edge and it's not gonna do anything to them.